Good morning, dear students. Let's start the revision of chapter Rocks and Rock Cycle. And in your syllabus, this will be a fourth chapter. In the book, it is sixth chapter, but two chapters have been removed from the syllabus. So you have to prepare only four chapters and the map. So this is the chapter 6, that is the fourth topic. And let's start here. So as all of you know, that the rocks actually that forms the crust, the solid part of the earth, and the solid part of the earth is called lithosphere, as the word litho is derived from the Latin word which means rock. So this lithosphere also can be called as the rockosphere. So now first of all you need to know about the difference between the rocks and mineral. Now when we talk about the rock, so rocks actually are the aggregate of minerals, means many minerals together they forms a rock. But what is a mineral? Mineral actually is a single element. Example, suppose when we talk about a zinc or iron or gold or diamond, now these are actually a specific element, a single element. So these single elements actually are called minerals, but many minerals when they bound together and they forms the rock. So this is the main difference, and you will find here both thing actually. If you see about the mineral has a definite chemical composition with its own chemical and the physical properties, but the rocks doesn't have a definite chemical composition, neither the rock have their own chemical or physical property. Now this is the main difference. Now let's start here the types of rock. The first type of rock, let's start here, the igneous rocks. Now igneous rock is also known as the primary rock because they are formed by the molten magma as they solidifies it. And here look here, the two types of magma. The first is the basalt magma and silicate magma, which we also call it the basalt magma, is also known as the basaltic magma, right? And they forms a basaltic rock. And the silicate magma, they are also called acidic lava or acidic magma, and when they forms a rock they are called acidic igneous rocks. Well, now let's start here. You will see here about the igneous rocks. The igneous rocks can be classified on the basis of first two bases. The first basis is on the basis of silica present. Already we have seen that is the acidic igneous rocks, in which the amount of silica is more. Second is the basic igneous rocks, in which the amount of silica is very less. Second is on the basis of occurrence. So when the igneous rocks they are formed inside the crust, they are called intrusive igneous rocks. Now here if you will find here, this is inside this the crust, when this magma solidifies, now this forms the intrusive igneous rocks. Now this intrusive igneous rocks again can be classified into two types. Now here when the magma solidifies in the chamber, now this is called magma plutonic rocks. This is the plutonic rocks, so plutonic igneous rocks. And when the magma solidifies in the dikes, or this is a vent or this is a dike, and these are the cracks. In these cracks when this magma solidifies, so they are called sills, dikes. So the different forms are formed. Now they are called the hypobasal rock. Together they are all called hypobasal rock. So let's see here some other forms of the hypobasal rock. So here you can find here some other forms are the batholith, laccolith, sill, stalks, dike. So these are all the different types or different forms of the hypobasal igneous rocks, or the intrusive igneous rocks, but hypobasal igneous rocks. So these are the categories. Now what do you mean by the extrusive igneous rocks? When the magma solidifies on the surface of the earth, we call it extrusive igneous rocks. Now what are the characteristics? You will find here, first of all, the igneous rocks actually they usually solidify directly from the molten magma. Second, they actually don't occur in the bed. Bed means they are not formed in the layers. Now they don't contain any fossils, so that we can say they are not fossiliferous, and they are very very hard, and they don't allow the water to pass through it. They are granular and crystalline in the structure. Their texture actually is granular and crystalline, and they are generally weathered by the mechanical weathering, and they contain the silicate, and they contain different types of minerals. As you can see here, all the different types of minerals are found in these rocks. Now next is the sedimentary rock. Now sedimentary rocks are, as the name suggests, they are formed by the sediments. So first of all, what happened after the weathering and denudation, when the rocks get weathered into big pieces, and after that by the erosion, what happened, they are again eroded into very fine particles. So the sediments are formed. Now these sediments are taken by the winds and by the running water, and what happened, they are deposited at some place, and there what happened, again they solidified and they forms the sedimentary rock. So this is how the sedimentary rocks are formed. Now usually these sedimentary rocks actually are deposited in layers. So what happened, they are formed in layers. That's why they are also called stratified rocks, and these layers are called strata. Now different types of, let's see all the sedimentary rocks. First of all, they can be actually classified into the three important types. First is the mechanically formed rocks, and we'll see afterwards different types of mechanically formed rocks. Second is the organically formed rocks and chemically formed rocks. So now these all types of sedimentary rocks, they are kept into these three categories. Now when we see about the mechanically formed rocks, there are different types are there, like sandstone, conglomerate, siltstone, shell. These are different types of mechanically formed rocks. So you can find here the mud, actually they are solidified and they forms the shell, that is mudstone, that's what is called shell. Now here the sand, actually when they solidify, they form the sandstone. When the silt solidifies into rocks, they are called siltstone. And these are the conglomerate, the small pebbles and the different small pieces of rocks, they get cemented together, they forms the conglomerate. Now next is the organically formed rocks. What are the organically formed rocks? Now what happened, as all of you know about the fossils. The fossils means in the very past, in the distant past, actually when the very large area of forest was buried and the animals were all died, the very big animals like dinosaurs, all these animals, they just get extinct from the earth, they were all buried. Now what happened, they actually forms a fossil, and these fossils and even the bones of these big animals, what happened, they actually formed into the rocks. So this is how, which type of rocks. Example, there are different examples can be seen, like the coal is example of organically formed rocks. Then there is about the calcareous rocks, calcium carbonate or calcareous rocks, they are also example of the organically formed rocks. Then the petroleum also is a liquid. Petroleums are found in the layers of the rock, and they are also example of organically formed rocks. Now next is the chemically formed rocks. Chemically formed rocks are the rocks actually which are formed due to the chemical reaction, when different elements they get reacted. So some example, let us see here. One good example is the rock, rock salt. Now this rock salt actually is a good example of the chemically formed rock. Here in short form CFR I have written here, it means chemically formed rocks. Well, so these are the three different types of the sedimentary rocks, and under which so many these rocks are formed. Next is the characteristic. So first of all, the characteristic, actually these sedimentary rocks, actually they are formed by the weathering of the pre-existing rock, means already the rocks like the igneous rocks and metamorphic rocks, when they go through the process of weathering and denudation, so what happens, first of all they just forms into the sediments, and when these sediments again get solidified, they forms the sedimentary rocks. Already we have seen. Now they are found in the layers. Then these rocks actually are very different places, actually you will find they are compressive and tensional forces, they also work on it, and that's why actually they are many places you will find they are actually layers. Usually they are found in the layers, but at some places you will also find these sedimentary rocks actually are found in a vertical layers. In some places, vertical means you will find in a different just vertical position. Now that is because of the tensional forces and compressional forces that works on it, usually in the mountainous region and in the plateau region. Some places you can find this thing, you can see these things. So these layers will be not horizontal but vertical. Well, let's see some more things. So here you will find here and some more things. First of all, these sedimentary rocks, they have a different joints, because they are the layers, and these layers are joined with the different layers in joints. So joints are also found. Now these sedimentary rocks are porous in nature, they allow the water, and they also contains a fossil. So these are some important characteristics. Now let's move to the metamorphic rock. Now here metamorphic rock, as all of you know, when the sedimentary rock and the igneous rocks, they go through the process of very intense heat and pressure, what happens, metamorphism takes place, and they just changes into metamorphic rock. This is how these rocks they are formed. Now these metamorphic, actually metamorphism, they can be caused by different way. Now here some examples are given. During the volcanic eruption, what happened when a very hot magma comes out actually, and whatever the rocks come into the contact with this actually lava, what happened, they get solidified. Another thing, due to the mountain building movement also, what happened, because of the great tension that is formed, and the rocks, they get metamorphized, and because of this metamorphism, what happened, they change into metamorphic rock. Endogenetic movement means the movement which is taking inside the earth crust. So these movement also, they causes the tensional and the compressional forces. So because of that actually the metamorphism takes place. Then on the contact with the undergoing water means there are the places where the very hot water is found, hot spring and the geysers. So these, as the waters are very hot, and what happen, they are intense hot, and when some rocks, they come into the contact with these very intense hot water, what happen, a metamorphism takes place. Well, these are the causes of metamorphism. Now let's see here the characteristic of the metamorphic rock. First of all, these rocks actually, they actually changes different types of structure and the mineral composition actually, right, can be seen here in this. Another thing actually, first of all, there are so many different types of rocks. If you find example like marble is found by the, let me just show you some this table actually. You will see here the slate is the original rock, but when it goes through the process of metamorphism, it forms the shell. Then schist is a rock actually, a common rock, but when it goes through the process of metamorphism, it also again forms the shell. Now let me show you the characteristic actually, just leave it this, and look here the characteristic you will find here. First of all, they are the simple way, let me explain you the characteristic. Actually the metamorphic rocks actually, they have a different texture and different composition. Next, another, they are very hard. Another thing, these they don't contain the fossils. And another example, another characteristic is they are either coarse grain or fine grains. So these are some very common characteristics. Now let's see about the types of metamorphism. So usually metamorphism, if you find here, there are 4 types of metamorphism, and the first is the thermal metamorphism. Thermal metamorphism is formed actually due to the intense heating. Dynamic metamorphism, which is caused by the very intense pressure. Contact metamorphism, when the rocks actually, they comes into the contact of the very hot magma during the volcanic activities. Variation. Then another is the regional metamorphism. Regional metamorphism is an example of the during the earth movement, especially in the mountainous region, due to the tectonic movement, what happened, whatever due to the great tension, very intense tension is formed there because of this earth movement. So when the metamorphism takes place, especially in the mountainous region or in the plateau region, so we call it regional metamorphism. Now the use of now next is the rock cycle. Let's see here. Now rock cycle actually is, what is the rock cycle? Let me just show you the one figure here. Look here. Now these are the 3 types of rocks, all of you know, but you will find here these igneous rocks actually, when they go through the process of intense heat and pressure, they forms into metamorphic rock. And when these metamorphic rock, they go through the process of weathering and erosion, they form sedimentary rock. But these sedimentary rocks, they go through the process of melting. Again they melt and they solidify into again in igneous rocks. But one more thing, if you find, when these igneous rocks, they go through the process of weathering and erosion, they form sedimentary rock. And these sedimentary rocks, when they go through the process of heat and pressure, they forms the metamorphic rock. And again, when this metamorphic rock, somehow actually, when they get melted, and again they solidified and they forms igneous rock. So this is a one cycle. It can either go this way and another way also. So both the way actually, this is a cycle, a rock cycle, in a very descriptive form. You can find this in the figure 6.7. You can see this diagram also. So this chapter is over now, right? And some videos I will attach it. All of you just you can again see the videos. So all the best.